everyone, my name is Sydney and today I'm going to be discussing the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. This book, I enjoyed it. It had some beautiful lines, some beautiful quotes, some beautiful imagery within it, but in my personal opinion, I preferred The Mastery of Love by Don. I thought The Mastery of Love was much more involved with information. It spoke to me much more. The Mastery of Love, as soon as I finished it, I felt this vibration, this energy going through my entire body and coming out. I felt it within me and around me. It was so beautiful, and I personally call it love. When I finished this book, I didn't feel that same way, and I personally found this book a little bit repetitive. But within saying that, I still enjoyed this book so much, and I know that a lot of people can get so much out of this book. There are so many things that it talks about, and it's able to speak to different people who've never thought about these things on that level. I, for one, have thought about these things that Don talks about my entire life, and I already involve these things in my life. It was still really beautiful, and I highly recommend this book to anyone who is interested in wanting to change their life or is interested in wanting to bring more positivity into their life and to the people around them. I think it's a really beautiful book. With that being said, I'm going to go into the spoilery section of this video where I talk about the parts that did speak to me. So if you would like to, feel free to stay. So yeah, here we go in 3, 2, 1. So I absolutely loved this in the introduction. This is what he discovered. Everything in existence is a manifestation of the one living being we call God. Everything is God, and he came to the conclusion that human perception is merely light perceiving light. He also saw that matter is a mirror. Everything is a mirror that reflects light and creates images of that light. And the world of illusion, the dream, is just like smoke, which doesn't allow us to see what we really are. The real us is pure love, pure light, he said. He saw himself in everything, in every human, in every animal, in every tree, in the water, in the rain, in the clouds, in the earth. He continues that on the next page to say, "It is true, I am God, but you are also God. We are the same, you and I. We are images of light, we are God." He had discovered that he was a mirror for the rest of the people, a mirror in which he could see himself. Everyone is a mirror, he said. Okay, so I recently went to Malaysia, which was quite a fun experience, and on the plane there I was reading the 4 Agreements, and the very first chapter, Domestication and the Dream of the Planet, it freaked me out. It freaked me out. So it was this line: "What you are seeing and hearing right now is nothing but a dream. You are dreaming right now in this moment. You are dreaming with the brain awake." I was on the plane in the middle of 2 of my friends who were both asleep, and if you know me, I go to sleep late, and on the plane I was the person who just didn't feel like going to sleep, was very awake. So in this moment I was reading this book, read these lines, and I honestly, like, the experience, how I felt in that moment was fucking crazy, because when you're on a plane, you can hear the plane, you can feel the gravity, you can feel your ears popping. And to read these words saying that what is happening right now is not happening right now, this is an illusion, it was crazy, because I've really been thinking about the world as an illusion lately. And if any of you guys are kind of into that, you would understand that your perception of life kind of changes with that phrase, but in a good way. So when I look at life and think about it as an illusion, I look at it in a beautiful way. I feel like there are multiple things happening all at once, that there are multiple universes and parallel universes, and in a way, the life we are living right now is happening at the same time but in a different way. but in a different way times 1,000. For example, right now I am talking to a camera, but in another alternate universe, I might be talking to the camera this way, or this way, or this way, or that way. So in a way, me sitting here right now, there are multiple versions of me pointing out in different directions. I see that, I feel that, and I believe that, and call me crazy, but it's such a beautiful image for me. It makes me feel like I am so connected with myself, with this human being that I am, with my body that is the host where my soul lives and stays. It opens up so much love and so much wonder or thought, if you would call it that. So reading this on the plane, being in a completely different location, being in a completely different circumstance, was really, really crazy, just because I kind of believed it in that moment. I didn't feel like I was on the plane anymore. I felt like I could transport myself completely to a different place. And in a way, it really comforted me. So it was both beautiful but also fucking scary, because the way that you can change your mind, the way that you play on your mind, is such a massive part to life. If your mindset is positive, there is so much beauty that comes from life. If your mind is the opposite, well, everything can look ugly and dark. I believe that there is so much on the mind that creates our world and creates this human life that we are in this current moment. So yeah, it was just super interesting to me. Please let me know if you've ever had any thoughts or feelings like that, because I would love to know if other people have felt this before, because for me it was such an interesting experience to feel transported. This was very interesting on page 3. Attention is the ability we have to discriminate and to focus only on that which we want to perceive. We can perceive millions of things simultaneously, but using our attention we can hold whatever we want to perceive in the foreground of our mind. The adults around us hooked our attention and put information into our minds through repetition. That is the way we learned everything we know. By using our attention, we learned a whole reality, a whole dream. We learned how to behave in society, what to believe and what not to believe, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, what is good and what is bad, what is beautiful and what is ugly, what is right and what is wrong. It was all there already. All that knowledge, all those rules and concepts about how to behave in the world. He continues on page 5. They were already there before you were born. We never had the opportunity to choose what to believe or what not to believe. We never chose even the smallest of these agreements. We didn't even choose our own name. As children, we didn't have the opportunity to choose our beliefs, but we agreed with the information that was passed to us from the dream of the planet via other humans. The only way to store information is by agreement. And this really made me think towards many things that get put into our laws or put into our minds that have already been done before, but also how these things came about to be. For example, how did we get the name of this country? What gave the right to the humans before us to name our countries or to name the streets that we walk down? What gave them the rights to do that? Where is the spectrum of power or superiority that allows people to do that, and why is that a thing in the first place? Why do we have these languages, and who was the first person to create these languages or write down these languages? How did these things become about to be a thing? Why is it a thing that we are controlled by time in this human life? Why do we live in order to find love? Why do we need to get married and have children? Why is that a frame that humans live by, and that is the lifespan that we have to work towards? If that makes any sense, I have been thinking about this for a little while in terms of how things came to be and what gave people the right in the past to make these things be. It really interests me because no one talks about, for example, the street names being called what they are. No one talks about that. You know what I mean? You probably don't. But for me, it's in my head in a way that it kind of freaks me out, because there are so many things that we don't know that were already here in the past, that started in the past, yet we are still here living with it, yet making changes, but some things don't change, they stay the same. So with that, it interests me how some things are still the same, yet we don't talk about them. But I loved that it said here we didn't choose our own name. And I love that we don't get to choose our name. The names that I personally love are the names that I would love to call my children. And I don't want to express those names with you, because if I ever have children, I would want it to be very special when I name them. But also, who knows if I will have children, you know? Like, I don't really think about that. In this point in time, I don't think about that. I still feel like I'm young and I don't need to think about that yet. But anyway, that's just another topic. We're going off the tangent. I just think it's beautiful that your parents, they see you and they give you a name. Although you were just born and probably you have blood all over you, or whatever the process and experience is of having a newborn. And obviously we develop to the people that we become day by day. We develop. We're always developing and changing. But I think it's beautiful that that is a gift handed down to you from your parents, a name. And you always will stick with this name unless you go and change your name. But your real name will forever be your real name and will forever be yours. So I find that super interesting, yet I also find it really beautiful. It's interesting that Don kind of puts it in a negative light, in terms of saying we never had the opportunity to choose what we believe in or not, because it's been put down on us with all the laws that are around what we think is good and bad and all that stuff. So yeah, it's quite interesting that he put that after, but I think it's a beautiful thing that we don't have to choose, that we get a name, and we all get such different, unique, beautiful names that can fit us or don't fit us. This was super interesting on page 13. In the dream of the planet, it is normal for humans to suffer, to live in fear, and to create emotional dramas. The outside dream is not a pleasant dream. It is a dream of violence, a dream of fear, a dream of war, a dream of injustice. If we look at human society, we see a place so difficult to live in because it is ruled by fear. Throughout the world, we see human suffering, anger, revenge, addictions, violence in the street, and tremendous injustice. It may exist at different levels in different countries around the world, but fear is controlling the outside dream. This is very interesting to me because it automatically makes me think towards the human experience and how we as humans, we feel. And that is the whole point of being a human, being able to feel, yet having different kinds of senses and a mind to verbalize and show our feelings to others. When you are upset, allow yourself to be upset, to feel that emotion, but also bring yourself up to feel what happiness is like, to experience both the good and bad. I found it super interesting because I really do think that we are all here to enjoy our time here, to understand what the human experience is like, yet to live it in a way that is with the curious mind, to never understand everything, but to allow yourself to explore and try to understand. So with that, I found it really interesting that he was talking about suffering, because there is a lot of human suffering in this life. And it's so unfortunate that that in some places humanity is not restored, and that there are people that are violent. There are people that are bad for this world. When you really think about it, it is very upsetting to hear disastrous things that happen or issues that are in today's society. But I think it's important to know that this is a part of the human experience, and there are going to be people like that, which is unfortunate that there are people like that, but there are people like that. But they don't have to be a part of your dream. You don't have to be one of them. You don't need to become one of them. And it's important for you to know that you shouldn't become one of them or be one of them, because there is no way you are living this life that you are meant to explore with a full heart, with openness and love, to fully enjoy this life that you are living. If you are that person that is negative and inflicting violence onto other people, you will never know your purpose in life. You will never know why you are here. And it saddens me that there are people out there who are like that. I love this on page 44. You can measure the impeccability of your word by your level of self-love. How much you love yourself and how you feel about yourself are directly proportionate to the quality and integrity of your word. When you are impeccable with your word, you feel good, you feel happy and at peace. I love this because it is such a reflection towards the words that come out of our mouth. When we give people advice, we are in that moment in time giving advice to ourselves, which I think is important to note, because when people, for example, if we label these people as bullies, when they inflict pain onto others, it is a true reflection of themselves, that they are in pain and something is not going right in their life. It is never about you. And that is something that Don talks about in this book. He talks about how you shouldn't take anything personally. I really believe that. So I absolutely love this, because when you feel, when you feel yourself, like I'm feeling myself, when you love yourself and you feel really good in the body that you've been given, and you feel it and you spread that. You know what I'm talking about? When you know and you feel that, other people around you know. And so when you give that love, they know that you are happy. And it is a true reflection of yourself right now, because you are feeling happy, so that's what you're spreading. I love this as well on page 72. Find your voice to ask for what you want. Everybody has the right to tell you no or yes, but you always have the right to ask. Likewise, everybody has the right to ask you, and you have the right to say yes or no. This is super, super important, because a lot of the time we think we're not allowed to speak up, or we think we can't say no to things. This is what I was talking about before on page 89. As the Toltecs teach us, the reward is to transcend the human experience of suffering, to become the embodiment of God. This is beautiful on page 99, and I think this would apply to a lot of people who are feeling like they are suffering in their life. They feel like they're not happy with their life. Awareness is always the first step, because if you are not aware, there is nothing you can change. If you are not aware that your mind is full of wounds and emotional poison, you cannot begin to clean and heal the wounds, and you will continue to suffer. Your life is the manifestation of your dream. It is an art. And you can change your life anytime if you aren't enjoying the dream. I love this, because if there is anyone out there who feels shit about their life, who feels shit about themselves, who don't love their family, who don't love their partner, don't love their friends, the people around them, don't love themselves, I think that this is just pure power, pure magic for those people to recognize that they always can change their life. They can always do something to make their life a little bit more brighter. And I wish that the people who are dealing with depression or dealing with different illnesses could read this and still find a way to be positive and change their life around for better. Because I feel like there's a lot of people out there who don't know how to change themselves, but they know they are dealing with something that they feel like they can't change. So for me, this was beautiful, because you can always change your life around. You just have to acknowledge what is happening in that moment in time, acknowledge what is happening to you, and make a change, actively make that change, or else it will always stay the same. This was beautiful on page 119. We can begin each day by saying, I am awake, I see the sun. I am going to give my gratitude to the sun and to everything and everyone, because I am still alive. one more day to be myself. So Miguel finishes his books with prayers, and I really liked how he started the prayer section, saying, focus your attention on your lungs as if only your lungs exist. Feel the pleasure when your lungs expand to fulfill the biggest need of the human body, to breathe. Take a deep breath and feel the air as it fills your lungs. Feel how the air is nothing but love. Notice the connection between the air and the lungs, a connection of love. Expand your lungs with air until your body has the need to expel that air. And then exhale and feel the pleasure again. Because when we fulfill any need of the human body, it gives us pleasure. To breathe gives us much pleasure. Just to breathe is enough for us to always be happy, to enjoy life. Just to be alive is enough. Feel the pleasure to be alive, the pleasure of the feeling of love. This was so beautiful to me because I actually sat. I closed my eyes, had my hands on my body, and felt my breath. I breathed in, I breathed out, and I felt the love. I felt myself inhaling and exhaling. So that was the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, not Don Miguel Ruiz. I hope that's right. I really hope it's right. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed this book if you did read it. If not, please go and read this book and let me know what you think about it. As usual, bye!